The sun was setting. Over on the horizon, a large swath of red slowly emerged from the golden sunlight and spread across the overcast clouds, giving the sea surface a rosy hue. The Bentley limousine left the busiest part of town and slowly drove up the mountain road. The afternoon rain filled the air with the scent of wet soil and soaked leaves. Victor lowered the car window halfway and gazed out at the red and white structure standing before him, lost in thoughts. Eza is one of the most beautiful townships along the Mediterranean coast, and it's also where Victor's grandmother used to live. For as long as he could remember, Victor had been coming to Eza with his mother for short stays. The humid sea breeze here, the low bushes that tickled his ankles, the bright-colored flowers that filled his sight. These were what made up his memory of his carefree childhood. Early in the morning, before he was awake, his mother would go buy a few bouquets of flowers and put them in every container she could find, whether it be a clay pot or a glass. When his grandparents were still around, their breakfast was heartier. Although they had lived in Eza for a long time, their stomachs hadn't quite got used to the local food. They still preferred porridge and noodles. After they passed away, the family breakfast was reduced to bread, omelets, or instant oatmeal. His mother had been learning how to cook in earnest, motivated by the desire to vary the diet for her son, but progress had been slow. All these memories grew fuzzy as Victor buried himself at work, but the moment he returned to the town, they all came back vividly. The sunshine, the lush trees, the sea, the flowers. A soft smile hung in the corner of his mouth. The video conference was about to begin. Victor withdrew his gaze and fixed it on his laptop. Soon, several young people in suits and ties appeared on the screen. Their eyes and hair were of different colors, but they shared an air of striking confidence. These were the up-and-comers that Victor recently cherry-picked to work at LFG's overseas venture capital offices. As Victor saw it, times had changed. Long gone were the days when an investor could easily determine a company's value with the help of some industry data and a financial report. Nowadays, they needed to know the ins and outs of the industry in which they invested, and they needed to look at new things with wonder and skepticism. LFG gave these young people the opportunity to explore any field that piqued their interest, and as they grew in experience, they'd become Victor's scouts who'd seek out business opportunities for him. The car was now halfway up the mountain. The setting sun bathed Victor's face in a golden glow, and warmth emanated from his smiling eyes.
Victor, that's a brilliant sunset you got there.
Yes, it is.
Eza, right? I could spend a whole day there just sitting on a balcony.
Indeed.
Mieux vaut boire du bon vin et apprécier le paysage.
The core.
The casual video conference ended when the car reached the mountain's peak. Victor got out of the car and took a stride forward. A strong breeze blew in his face and ruffled the hair on his forehead. He buttoned up his suit, took a bouquet of roses from his escort, and started toward that familiar corner. The last rays of the setting sun seeped out of the star-studded blue sky and silently landed on the white marble headstone.
Mother.
Victor laid down the flowers, took a handkerchief from his pocket, and squatted down to wipe the headstone. Actually, there was not a mote of dust to be wiped, as this cemetery was tended to on a daily basis. On top of that, every few days someone would come and change the flowers and put them in a clean vase filled with nutrient solution.
Father was held up by something and couldn't make it. He asked me to bring these roses as a token of his apology.
He slowly rose to his feet as he spoke these words, gazed out to the horizon where the sun had fallen, and then slightly curled his fingers into a fist. Every year on this day, he makes time to come back here, no matter how packed his schedule is. At times, he had to rush to a meeting after standing for only a few moments before the headstone. Still, he always insists on coming in person. His mother's death anniversary meant a lot to him. Breathing in the fresh air at the mountain's peak, he went into a monologue about some trivial matters in his life.
The charity project I told you about is now in full swing. I managed to find a lot of teachers who are willing to give music lessons to handicapped children. Some of them have experience doing that. Some even hold degrees in music. With their help, I'm sure we'll be able to find children with talent and send them to formal schools one day. Oh, the other day I read a Moments post by Auntie Goo saying that Vera found a nice boyfriend. Considering how she's been nagging Vera to get married, I'm sure the two will tie the knot soon. You remember Ronan? He went to Italy the other day and sent me a 6-foot-tall statue of me. I can't believe he spent a fortune to make a world-class sculptor do such a boring job.
He was silent for a moment, then something else occurred to him.
Father used to love watching Miracle Finder. But the last year the show started losing viewers and money, so LFG is planning to withdraw the funding. It's a shame. But then again, that's just the price you pay for not keeping up with the fast-changing times.
His watch indicated it was time to leave, but he continued standing there in the moonlight, his deep gaze fixed on his mother's headstone. He let out a sigh, which was quickly carried away by the wind. Then he spoke in a hushed voice.
All the leads were in dead ends. I still haven't found her.
He sighed again, but quickly stopped. He withdrew his eyes from the headstone, flicked off the fallen leaves on his collar, and walked away in long strides. As if in response to his lonely departure, a meteor silently shot through the night sky. Victor's private jet had been waiting on the landing area. The weather was nice tonight, with good visibility. When boarding the plane, the pilot uncharacteristically suggested he check out the view of the moonlit sea through the porthole. As soon as he sat down, Goldman walked over, carrying a laptop.
Boss, I need to confirm a few things with you about today's schedule. First of all, the plan to buy into SE's online video platform has been made official. A meeting will be held at 2 p.m. to discuss the matter. The SE representatives will land at 12 noon, and I've arranged for them to be picked up at the airport. But you've already agreed to attend Mr. Shank's cocktail party at 7 tonight, so the dinner appointment with the SE representatives...
Just tell them that because they've had a long flight, I've arranged to have the dinner appointment postponed by a day, so they can get a good night's sleep.
Got it. One more thing. Astra Circus has accepted our invitation to perform in Loveland City, but they're having doubts about the venue and wish to confirm if they will receive the permit to perform there. I've already sent someone to prepare the application for the permit. Given LFG's reputation, I'm confident we'll have no problem getting it. So, can we give them an affirmative answer?
Victor nodded slightly, then turned to look outside the porthole. As the plane soared above the city, a sea of lights filled his view, and as the view got darker and darker, the reflection of his deep eyes appeared in the porthole.
Boss, Mr. Bowie has received this month's payment and sent back an email that he wanted you to read. He said he only managed to find clues in the first few years after taking the job, and that over the last year, he had got nothing at all. As much as he loves making money, he feels guilty about having nothing to contribute. So he proposed offering you some business services for free. He said he's well connected and will definitely acquire some useful information for you.
Mr. Bowie's exact words were offering business espionage, but Goldman carefully changed the wording. Victor pictured the funny expression on Mr. Bowie's face when he talked and let out a soft smile.
Tell him that LFG has its own connections and doesn't need his services at the moment. Tell him to take the money and focus on doing what he's supposed to do.
Goldman responded in a low voice, then went silent for the rest of the flight. The cabin returned to a deafening silence. The plane steadily flew in the night sky, along the same route it had traveled countless times without the slightest deviation. Half an hour later, Victor came out of the shower in a white bathrobe and sat down on the sofa in his bedroom. The red wine in the decanter had reached its prime. Victor poured himself half a glass and took a sip, his face expressionless. He vaguely remembered that this 1985 Romani Conti was gifted to him by one of YL's directors at an auction. As he savored the wine, the idea of cooperating with YL came to him, but he quickly brushed it aside. Not now. They're not good enough for us. Not yet. Leaning against the sofa, Victor opened his computer and casually browsed the emails in his inbox and the review status. At the top of the inbox was an email titled Financial Structure and Business Outlook. He clicked to open it and quickly scanned the summary part. After crunching the data, we found that the company's only program, Miracle Finder, lost 80% of its viewers last year, which brought its viewership ranking down to 13th, third from bottom. Meanwhile, this film company had a change of leadership a few months ago, and according to reliable sources, its new boss had no experience whatsoever in company management, business negotiation, etc. Therefore, the venture capital department suggests to the CEO and board that funding in her company should be discontinued. Without giving it much thought, he replied to the email with one hand. Approved. Decisions like this came easy to him. Over the last 2 weeks, Victor had pulled funding from 5 companies, 6 if including this film company. In the meantime, he had also secured new investment deals, such as the one with SE. LFG was like a well-oiled investment machine that quickly reacted to market changes. Many thought that what LFG did was not much different from gambling, and Victor never denied that. The company's aggressive ways were viewed by the industry as recklessness, but that didn't bother him, because he was convinced that the industry giants' so-called slow and steady ways were nothing more than an excuse for their inefficiencies and operational redundancies. Maybe in a few years, LFG would join their ranks. But it didn't matter, because before that day came, he would build a rock-solid foundation for LFG, one that would allow it to stay robust during its continuous expansion. After downing the red wine in one last gulp, Victor pressed the sleeping mode button on the remote, and the window shade slowly came down until the room turned dark. He went back into the bathroom to wash up, ready to wrap up the long day. That night, he had a profound dream. It was in a space devoid of time. Dots of light were slowly drifting through his fingers, but every time he closed his palm trying to catch them, they disappeared. Meanwhile, in front of him was a woman with slightly curled brown hair and a soft smile. His mother. She was smiling at him. Her gaze was so gentle, as if she was looking at the most precious thing in the world. She seemed to be asking him something, but he couldn't hear what it was, and her smile was all he could see. He couldn't catch up to her. He knew he had been inside a bizarre vortex for ages waiting for someone, but whom? The indicator lights on the plane's wings were obscured by the darkness of the night. Below the clouds, a whole continent lay fast asleep. Time had slowed to a crawl, and everything stood frozen. Far above the clouds, a sea of stars twinkled, as if the entire galaxy was watching him dream. Also in a deep dream was this girl who was holding a flickering phone in her hand while murmuring something indistinguishable. The 2 lines that had been running parallel suddenly had their courses changed by fate. The plane steadily flew past the rising sun on the horizon. As the window shade slowly lifted up, the first rays of sunlight streamed in and fell on the floor near Victor's bed. Victor was going to head straight for LFG, but then he changed the plan when he received a message from Mr. Mills saying he had a personal emergency and needed a couple of days off. It had him concerned. After some hesitation, he decided to pay him a visit. When Victor got to the Mills' house, the old man happened to be having dinner. He was greeted by the aroma of food as soon as he entered the door. At Mills' insistence, he picked up a bowl and a pair of chopsticks and joined him. With his back straightened and his hand holding the bowl, Victor asked Mills about his conditions between bites. Before the meal was finished, he had already arranged a doctor's appointment for him. Mr. Mills was grateful for the kind gesture, and then he remembered what he saw online earlier.
I noticed all those bad reviews people left about the restaurant. I'm sure you saw them too. Don't let it bother you.
Victor smiled, surprised at his effort to comfort him.
Mills, I never care about what other people think. I don't need them to tell me how to run my restaurant. Don't worry about me. For the next few days, you just focus on getting better. Meanwhile, Souvenir will close for a week. Then we'll decide what to do next based on the doctor's diagnosis.
Mr. Mills playfully punched his problematic knee and said with a smile,
These old bones are becoming a burden.
Victor nodded.
Nothing of the sort.
Mr. Mills's wife silently brought over a blanket from the living room and put it on her husband. The couple then exchanged a quick glance without saying anything to each other. Picking up where he left off, Mr. Mills gleefully talked about how the customers praised the cooking skills of the restaurant owner. Looking at Mr. Mills as he gushed, a smile flashed across Victor's lips. After finishing the simple dinner, capped with a cup of tea, Victor quickly left so as not to disturb the couple any longer than necessary. When Victor reached the crossing opposite LFG's building, the sunny weather suddenly changed into a sun shower. As he was thinking about whether to have Goldman bring over a clean suit for the cocktail party tonight, a petite girl burst into view. The traffic light had just turned red, and a car was speeding toward the pedestrian crossing with no sign of slowing down. A girl dawdled in the middle of the road, unaware of the imminent danger. A quick succession of two horns sounded, and just when the worst seemed about to happen, the look on Victor's face changed slightly, and all of a sudden all noise died down. He stepped forward and caught the girl in his arms. The girl gazed at him in confusion.
Evolver?
Time stood still, and raindrops came to a stop in midair. His eyes locked on the girl.